from Michele Lissoni that is here. So in the meanwhile, if you have some question, let's use the chat also to interact with the speakers. And at the end, we'll have like the final round of questions for both the last intervention. So Michele, if you want to go ahead.
Hello. Yes. Now I have a presentation of my own. So can I share the screen? Yes. I suppose.
Yes. 1 moment.
Let's see here. 1 moment.
In the meanwhile, I introduce Michele.
Okay, you should be able to see it now.
Exactly. Okay, I'll let you introduce by yourselves. Michele is from Statale Impatto Zero. So a few words also about the organization you can do.
Yeah, sure. In fact, I was planning to begin by that. So essentially, I'm here to demonstrate the kind of contribution to this this issue of climate resilience and the resilience at the local level. The contribution that a small association can give in a very specific context. The context is the Università degli Studi di Milano, the largest university in Milan. And the association is Statale Impatto Zero. We are a student association which is specialized, which is dedicated to environmental issues. You should be able to see my first slide talks exactly about that. So we are a group of students from different departments, and we work mainly to reduce the environmental impact of our university and to raise awareness among the university community on issues of climate change, of sustainability, and in general of the environment. We've existed for about 2 years, and in that time we have already achieved some goals, including, for example, the establishment of a sustainability office in our university and several other events to raise awareness. And we have also cooperated with several other environmental realities across the city of Milan. But here I'm going to present our most enterprising project so far, which is a formal proposal for the ecological conversion of our university. I should emphasize that what you will see has been done by students who are almost all not specialized in these topics. We are from several different departments. Most of us are not specialized on environmental issues. This may help contextualize what we have actually created. So our formal proposal is this, the document that you saw in the first slide, this Obiettivo Impatto Zero, we've called it. It's a 30-page document, so not particularly long, but we think quite comprehensive, that tries to make proposals in every aspect to actually carry out the ecological transition in every aspect of our university. So, well, I'll go very quickly in these first slides because they talk just about the introductory sections of our document. We started, of course, by presenting the environmental emergency, since we do not believe that the university administration is fully aware of the entity of the problem. So an introductory section of this was necessary. Why the university should do more? We've selected a number of reasons, because the university has a responsibility towards society. It has a responsibility to educate future citizens and workers, which modern education cannot ignore the issue of the environment, and also because the environment is also a key issue on the research front, and we think the university should be an active actor in this. So I've just emphasized the most important reasons. Now, moving on. Now, this may help you understand what is the current situation in our university. Our university has just created a sustainability office, which I've already mentioned was thanks to our lobbying for this measure, and it also considers sustainability an objective in its strategic plans for the next few years. It is also a member of a network of universities, of Italian University for Sustainability, and has activated several projects within a number of projects within to actually carry out, to actually make good on this on its engagement. The main problem is that all these interventions do not seem so far to be systematic. We've seen a lack of a structural vision. There have been a few, as I said, projects on specific issues or on in specific departments, but there is a lack of a more global outlook on the problem, which is where we come in. First of all, we've established a few fundamental principles that should guide the ecological transition. The first, which might seem obvious, is that the environment is the central issue of the 21st century. It's not actually obvious at all, because we keep seeing that this issue is not treated with the importance that it should be. Essentially, we feel that the administration does not understand the urgency of the problem. And until they do, it's difficult to imagine that they will actually be able to tackle the issue of ecological transition with the necessary seriousness. So it is important that they realize that the actors of the university, and specifically the administration, realize the importance of this. Once they do realize it, they should evaluate the impact of every action. It's not simply necessary to enact policies for the ecological transition. One must also evaluate the impact of every project and every action, always keeping in mind that prevention is better than compensation. To explain it with a simple example, it's always better to avoid cutting down trees than to actually plant new ones afterwards. This is a very down-to-earth example, but it gives the idea of what the attitude should be. Other important principle is user participation, because we believe that the whole university community should participate in the ecological transition, and this is closely linked to the fact that information on the environmental issues such as energy use, resource use such as water or other resources. All this information should be free and easy to access. This currently does not happen. It's very difficult to find data on the actual environmental impact of our university. This should absolutely change. Then, having established a few fundamental principles, we outline some general objectives. The first, again, is obvious: bringing greenhouse gas emission to zero, and not only direct emissions related to university activities, but also indirect, so emissions from the activities of university users which are in some way related to university. A classic example, though not very up to date due to the COVID pandemic, would be aviation emissions for academics traveling to conferences. Fortunately, this does not happen anymore. We hope it will not start happening again after the pandemic is over. But there are several other examples, and maybe we'll talk about other examples as we go on. Then there is the adaptation to climate change, which is basically the focus, what we're talking about here today. We feel that adaptation is often neglected, but it's a very important theme because, as we all know, climate change is already happening and will happen even if all the objectives of the Paris Agreement are actually reached. So we need some investment to face, for example, the urban heat island effect, which could be faced through investment in green infrastructures. And another form of adaptation is the reduction of resource consumption, which is strictly related to the reduction and better management of waste. And finally, we think that our university should boost research and education activities and policies regarding, again, environmental themes. These are general objectives. Going now specifically. We have proposed, first of all, as I said, we've already obtained that sustainability office be opened within our university, but at the moment it's not arranged in a very satisfactory manner. What we want to have is a green office, meaning an office where all components of the university community are represented, including students, so that they can work actually together on this ecological transition. This would ensure a constant dialogue between the office and the university community. In addition, the office should have actual powers, because it should have a delegate in each department, so as to actually enact environmental policies in a coordinated way throughout the university. This is not, sorry, I was forgetting, this is not actually an utopia, because there are several examples of green offices in the world and in Italy as well. In Italy, the universities of Bologna and Torino already have green offices, and there is a global movement called the Green Office Movement, which seeks exactly to do what we are trying to do in Milan, to establish green offices in universities across the world. Now, other proposals we have made that should be enacted at an institutional level include the green plan, an actual green plan to plan the transition with targets for 2025 and 2030, and programs, and yearly and 3-year programs. This should be accompanied every year by an environmental report, which actually evaluates the effect of these measures, and in general evaluates the environmental impact of our university, including in particular the inventory of both direct and indirect emissions, again, and the evaluation of the university's carbon footprint. Now, going on to practical proposals, we have practical proposals in 7 different sectors. So you can see them in this slide. So I'll go them over one by one, unfortunately, without going into too much detail, I'm afraid, but I will at least explain what they are about. So the first sector is, of course, decarbonization. We want a very important objective must be the maximization of the energy efficiency of buildings, which is currently not very satisfactory. Then we need, as I said, a green infrastructure investment, which, as we heard earlier, is being done. Is now part of the plans of the in Milan by the Milan City Hall, and there is no reason why the university shouldn't go along the same lines. Then we have some more specific proposals, such as the offers of vegetarian meals in canteens, the evaluation and reduction of ICT impact, and disinvestment from fossil fuels, and avoiding too close relations with fossil fuel industry. I must emphasize that we've not actually written the document, just what you see here. These are the titles. For each of these, there are very specific proposals in the document. I cannot describe here in detail for time constraints. Now, going on to the second sector, circular economy. Our main proposal is the introduction of sustainability criteria in all calls for tenders, which should improve on what are called in Italian criteria ambientali minimi, minimal environmental criteria, which are mandatory by law. We want some more ambitious criteria in our calls, in the university's calls for tenders. Then we ask for the reduction of wastage, reduction of food wastage, and as well as of water and of paper. And we also made a proposal, always in the context of food wastage, to actually to participate in the redistribution of non-eaten food through cooperation with associations associations in the city that do just that. Oh, here there is a small mistake. This was a reduction of plastic consumption. We think there is a specific point on the reduction of plastic because of plastics' very heavy environmental impact. So we need policies for plastic-free universities, starting from the monitoring of plastic consumption, and then specific actions such as on automatic vending machines, on the canteens, and so on. And then there should be, again, specific considerations in calls for tenders on plastic where necessary. And we also need policies to raise awareness among students, which should not be conducted just by associations such as ours, but by the university administration itself. An important point is the integration of the educational offers. I've already talked about the reasons for doing this. What we propose are, to begin with, we need to enhance degree programs by introducing also in already existing degrees and in already existing modules. We need environment themed lessons so that students that may not be familiar with these themes can actually familiarize themselves with them without actually needing to follow a specific course or a specific conference or seminar. Seminars and specific monographic courses are, of course, another tool. And in each degree, there could also be, at least for many degrees, there is also space for specific modules on, again, climate and environment related topics. And then, of course, we propose also an interdegree curriculum that every student will follow. This is something that the university has actually already done, but we propose to enhance this program. The university should also, as I said before, boost its scientific research on this topic. Particularly, it should consider the environment one of its great challenge. The university has a number of great challenges that its research will address over the next few years. The environmental transition should be one of them. There should be more thesis, PhD, and research opportunities on these issues, specifically because it is necessary to draw students from traditional departments, such as, I don't know, physics, but also economics, for example, very different departments, but both have applications on the environmental issues, and efforts should be done to convince students from these departments to actually pursue a research career in this sector. And then we hope that it will be possible to coordinate the efforts of Milan universities and research institutions to create a collaboration to reach environmental research goals. I'm getting near the conclusion. The last two sectors are green mobility. Here we have, in particular, focused ourselves on three main issues. One is cycling. The university should make it easier for users to reach universities' facilities by bike in a number of ways. It is necessary, as I mentioned before, to reduce the use of air transport for academic purposes. This has happened, and we hope it will not. It will continue to reduce over the next few years. And a more specific policy, but a crucial one, is the establishment of conventions with transport companies promoting green mobility, so either trains or perhaps but also electric cars and of course bikes, and the suppression of conventions with, on the contrary, companies such as car rental companies or other companies with a heavy environmental impact. Last issue is waste management. Waste management at the moment in our university is carried out in a very uncoordinated manner. Each department manages its own, which is not at all satisfactory. We need to create a waste manager that can actually orchestrate a common policy for the whole university. Then we need some more engagement by all the departments, starting from the institution of separate collection in all the lecture rooms. And we suggest that the university might achieve a better waste management through the use of green nudging. So I'm finished. I would just like to, I hope that you've understood. I realize that for people who are not familiar with the situation in our university, it may not exactly be possible to understand the importance of some measures. You've seen that some measures have a more general outlook, while others are very specific, and this obviously cannot be avoided. Maybe I'll post, before we finish, I'll post the link to our document, which unfortunately is in Italian. We have not yet managed to write an English version, but I'll still post a link to a document that you can all access. And that's all. That's basically all. And of course, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Michele. Thank you very much for your presentation and for joining the session. Also, a valuable example on the activation of students, also both at the local, but I can say at the global, both local level, because you act finally, your impact will be also at the global level. So if there are questions for both the speakers of the previous and this session, feel free to answer. Let's have now 10 minutes of discussion.
I actually have a question for, sorry, I'll stop sharing for the moment. I actually have a question for Dr. Fernandez regarding the platform that she presented earlier. Basically, the question is, if, say, an institution were to ask you to how to implement your platform in another territory, which is not Southern Baja California, what would you say, what would be needed to do so? Say, I don't know, in Italy, for example, or in a region of Italy.
Yeah, so this project, the Metabolism of Cities Living Lab, is currently ongoing. But I mean, the idea is very clear. The idea is to make sure a city identifies, let's say, specific underrepresented communities that pertain to that specific city. Another thing would be developing a type of network. So I think that's the most important thing, developing a network with local governments, let's say nonprofit organizations that have, let's say, share the same vision. and also developing practical applications, if that is developing these visions with students or also community leaders. So I think it really does depend on the specific city, let's say, but the vision is clear: to develop a network to help local governments, let's say, better communicate with their underrepresented communities, but also localizing the sustainable development goals. So in terms of how to localize the sustainable development goals, that really does depend on some of the issues that are specific to that individual city. In the case of Milan, you know, starting at the climate action plan that Milan currently has and trying to identify what are the current problems, and then going from there. And not only developing a network, but also focusing on ways to develop practical applications. In the case of my colleague Harrison presented this dashboard tool. So using technologies as a way to better connect with citizens and better understand them. I don't know if that answered your question, but it really does depend on the specific city's social, environmental, and economic issues. However, the vision is clear to focus on the needs of individual people within the city. But if you are want to know more about it, you can definitely get us. This is an ongoing project, and yeah. And we have some collaborators from the Politecnico di Milano as well. So you can also contact my colleague, Carol Maione.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Michele. You have time for another question, then close the session.
Gabriella, what is the difference between metabolism and human footprint?
And which footprint? I didn't understand.
What is the difference between city metabolism and human footprint from William Rees at the University of British Columbia?
Okay. So urban metabolism is basically a metaphor. It's a concept to develop awareness about the overconsumption of cities. What this concept does, it basically, let's say, compares the city to a living organism. And under this concept of urban metabolism, there are several different ways to measure materials and energy and so on within the city, measures different material flows. So it is basically an idea, a concept. Now, what you also discuss, what is the difference between human footprint? So human footprint is basically a tool to understand the CO2 emissions of a specific material or a specific product. So urban metabolism, let's say, is mostly an idea, but it's also an umbrella that there's several different types of tools to measure materials and energies and so on within a city, looking at different flows. I don't know if that's clear to you.
Please update your concept of the human footprint, because it's not CO2. It's everything. It's water, air, food, plants, animals, construction, everything. Please update your understanding of it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. It's an example.
Okay. Thank you very much, the speakers. Thank you, Gabriella, Carol, Harrison, and Michele. So now we are closing the session for today, and also the track of cities, infrastructure, and local action. Thank you very much for joining and attending, and see you in the plenary and next days. Bye.
Thank you so much, Domenico, for this opportunity as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.